Hello, students, teachers, parents, history nerds. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nutshelled History, where we lay out the facts, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We continue with our Modern World History series by looking at the slave trade and its impact on Africa. Don't forget that there's a link for a fill-in-the-blank worksheet in the description. I just ask that you like and subscribe. I apologize for any mispronunciations ahead of time. I do my best. Okay, let's go. Slavery had existed in Africa since ancient times. By the 1500s, European participation had encouraged a much broader Atlantic slave trade, and it grew into a huge and profitable business to fill the need for cheap labor. Europeans especially needed workers on their plantations in the Americas. Some African leaders tried to slow down or stop the transatlantic slave trade. The ruler of Congo, Afonso I, who had been tutored by Portuguese missionaries, wanted to maintain contact with Europe, but end the slave trade. The slave trade, however, continued. The slave trade had major effects on African states. Because of the loss of countless numbers of young Africans, some small states disappeared forever. At the same time, new states arose with ways of life that depended on the slave trade. The Asante Kingdom emerged in the area occupied by present-day Ghana. In the late 1600s, an able military leader, Osei Tutu, conquered neighboring peoples and unified the Asante Kingdom. Under Osei Tutu, the Asante Kingdom held a monopoly over both gold mining and the slave trade. The Oyo Empire arose from successive waves of settlement by the Yoruba people in the region of present-day Nigeria. Its leaders used wealth gained from the slave trade to build a strong army. The trade of slaves became part of the trade network known as triangular trade, a series of Atlantic sea routes joining Europe, Africa, and the Americas. On the first leg of the triangle, merchant ships brought European goods, such as guns and cloth, to Africa, where they were traded for slaves. On the second leg, known as the Middle Passage, slaves were brought to the Americas, where they were traded for sugar, molasses, and cotton from European-owned plantations. On the final leg, these products were traded for other colonial goods, such as furs and salt fish, which were then shipped to Europe, where they were traded for European goods. During the Middle Passage, slaves were captured, bound, and forced to walk as much as 1,000 miles. Many died on the way. Those who lived were restrained in holding pens in African port cities until European ships arrived. Hundreds were crammed below deck for the 3-week to 3-month voyages. Some committed suicide. Many died from disease, brutality, or other dangers like storms, pirate raids, and mutinies or revolts by captives trying to return home. The triangular trade continued in part because it was so profitable. It brought riches to merchants and traders, helped the colonial economies succeed, and helped European and American port cities grow. However, for Africans, the outcome was devastating. African societies were torn apart, and lives were cut short or brutalized. By the mid-1800s, when the slave trade finally ended, an estimated 11 million Africans had been brought to the Americas, and another 2 million had died during the Middle Passage. All right, let's recap. I usually try to be a little cute and/or sarcastic during recap, but that doesn't align with the topic here. There is nothing cute about the slave trade. So here you go. Slavery has always existed. But during the 1500s until the 19th century, the transatlantic slave trade grew enormous. The loss of so many able-bodied African human beings destroyed many African communities. Other African communities and empires grew more powerful by using the wealth and weapons gained to strengthen their armies. The Middle Passage part of the triangular trade was wretched and inhumane, as traders tried to pack as many Africans into steerage as possible on the voyage from Africa to the Americas. I'm sorry to leave you on a dark note, but that is the slave trade and its impact on Africa, nutshelled. Thanks for visiting Nutshelled History. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Cheer me up in the comments down below.